Hello everybody and welcome back to Crazy Bees. It has been a crazy couple of weeks. I have not been out in the garden much. I actually spent the whole day today trying to format a race that we had been gifted to go to Indianapolis. I don't know if you ever hear it in the background when I'm doing some videos. Sometimes we're watching NASCAR in the background. We like watching NASCAR. And we had been gifted a whole weekend in Indianapolis. And we were in a suite. We had pit passes, garage passes. It was amazing. And I wanted to take you guys along for that. If I ever figure it out, I will be happy to share that with you. It was a wonderful experience, and we went to the museum there on the Speedway, and the cars and stuff in there were amazing. A lot of history, lots of history there. So I was going to take you along for that, but me and my technology skills, I'm working on it. If I get it figured out, I will bring you along. But in the interim, I have not been out in the garden much, so we're going to take a walk around and see what needs to be done, and then we're going to start a garden series. We're going to get back to the basics. It's often that sometimes we just have to go back to the beginning, and sometimes I feel like that's where I'm at, trying different things, seeing what works best, what doesn't. And I want to take you along for what I've learned, what's helped me, what I think I should have done versus what I did, things like that. Things that maybe will help you and save you time and money on your gardening journey. So I'm going to take you off the tripod and we're going to go take a walk around. Okay, so the sun is pretty bright today. It's another warm day, but the temperatures have definitely dropped down. We are in the low 100s now instead of the high 100s. You can see our strawberries are still doing okay. They're struggling. Our trees have got some yellowing on them, but they're doing okay. We're getting some new growth on the tips of some of those, which is great. The mulberries here, they're going crazy. Now we had put up, when Tom did this sunshade here, he extended it over to the house, and we had a couple nasty dust storms, and you can see exactly what that did on that particular shade cloth. The next time I get shade cloth, I will not get that brand. I will be getting more of the white shade cloth, and I can let you know in the description which one that was. It is a lot sturdier, it holds up much better, and it is not as prone to ripping. So that's one of the things that we can do. But in the meantime, now our apiarium and some of our other plants here don't have the shade that they had. Our steel magnolia, when we hit that 118 degrees, we're thinking it's dead. I really hope it comes back, but we'll go see. I don't think it's going to. It really got hit hard with the temperatures. As a baby, I just don't think it's going to come back, but I'm not ready to give up on it yet. The grapes survived. They do okay. We lost the sage, and that right here is a pepper plant, and then back here the mint is still trying to hold on. We'll see if that makes it. And then as we turn around here, most of the stuff that has been under this shade cloth has done okay. It's surviving. It's doing what it can to get through these hot temperatures. The tomato is still in here. We have found several hornworms, so we are having to try to find them as much as possible. When you start seeing your plants wilting, or you start seeing leaves missing, branches missing, you want to start looking for where that problem is. As you can see right here, this is where we noticed our problem. We were getting branches missing and leaves missing, and we did find a couple of hornworms in here. They will not only go after your tomatoes, you have to watch your peppers also. We found them on our peppers. And let's see, everything else is still surviving. We even have some stuff that's got flowering on it in here, so everything in here is doing good. The hibiscus is starting to go crazy. This is our roselle in that back corner right there, and while it is warm, it's just going to keep growing. Once those temperatures start cooling off, it will start producing some flowers. Our catnip right here has basically done for. Our strawberries are still doing okay in here. And when I cut back some of the thyme that was in here, look at what I found. Huge wasp little nest here. We did spray it, but we still have to knock it out of there. We were seeing some wasps, not a huge presence of them, but we were seeing some. We still have a bunch of runners on the strawberries. So this side right here is doing okay for now. The asparagus is still growing. It hasn't started to turn brown yet, so we just leave that alone. Our rose bushes, as you can see, got really burnt. Tom cleaned those up a little bit, but they were looking very treacherous. They got hit pretty hard with the sun. And then in here, this is our Lisbon cherry. We thought it was done for. No, this is, wait a minute. This is the cherry right here. Right here, this one. Let me focus that in. That's the cherry tree, and it's starting to get new growth on it. We thought it was dead just like the magnolia, but it is getting new growth on it. Now, I am going to have to look on this one. Okay, this is the gold, the peachicum, is that how you say it? The Bella Gold Picatum. So this is a mix between a peach, a plum, and, gosh you guys, a peach, peach, plum, and apricot. Peach, plum, and apricot. That's what this one is. So hopefully this one comes back through and we can plant it in the fall. You do not ever want to plant your stone fruits in the summer. You always want to wait till they go into hibernation. What is that word? Dormancy. Once they go dormant, then you can start. See, right there, you guys. Let's see if we can zoom in on that guy. Oh, he went away. See, I have more of a wasp presence in here now. So this catnip here is looking better on this side. It actually needs to be cut back. But we put all of that in there because it's supposed to be a good companion plant to strawberries. So that is why we planted what we planted in the towers to help the strawberries. Now we're on the other side, and I thought, you know, I'll share my raised bed with Tom and his peppers. Look at these peppers. Look at what they've done. They've just taken over my raised bed. So what I'm thinking I might do is plant some beans, some pole beans behind here. Do it on the other side. That way they can trellis up the top here and be fine. And we can still have this area for the peppers. But they've just gone all through here. It's just a pepper bed at this point. But I'm still hoping to be able to access and use the trellis. But everything else is peppers. Now, if you look right here, look at, I have branches missing. We have a rat or a mouse or something in here that is chewing up our plants. Now, the last time we were in the garden, I was showing you under this tree and telling you I needed to get in here. to take out the weeds. Hasn't happened yet. And I also came home to, oh, lizard. Oh, and I am going to put this video of this lizard that I saw. Oh my gosh, it was the most beautiful lizard. Look at this, you guys. The okra in here is just, I've got woody okra, I've got baby okras. I've got to get in here and get this taken care of. This one here. And I got something eating at them. Unfortunately, I have not been home much to be able to assess what is going on. So we have that to deal with. Some of the trees are holding out better than others. As you can see, the plum tree here is, or no, that's the pluot. It's struggling a bit more. So hopefully it can make it through the rest of this season. And this is a hot mess. I have got basil in here that needs to be trimmed back. My tomatoes are just done for. They need to be taken out. The tops of them somehow survived all the heat, but the bottoms are fried. So they all need to be pulled out. I have dill plants in here that are totally dried out. I'm sure I'm going to have baby dill all over the place. My cilantro, or not my cilantro, that is a, oh look at that. These moths get in here, and they're the ones that lay all of the caterpillars. This is the plant for mosquitoes. I have to come back to that one. And then we have some celery in here, more basil that has to be trimmed back. I mean, it's just a hot mess in here. This all needs to be trimmed up. The laurels need to be trimmed up. Those can be trimmed up at any point. Look at this apple tree. It's just absolutely crazy. It definitely needs to be trimmed, but we can't do that one until the fall. Probably not until February. But it is giving shade. All of this is giving shade to this area back here. I had to pull out the squash plants that were in here, and I was getting an infestation of squash bugs. So I'm not seeing them now. I'm hoping with all the other bird, and we have toads. We have some toads. We hear them at night, like crazy at night. I got a pepper plant here that needs to be staked up. This tomato plant, look at this. This is just a hot mess. It's like, look at this. Let me see if I can show you what it's doing here. It's literally bent over and coming down like a umbrella here. I got little tiny tomatoes on there though. And then up here you can see where the birds, we have little tiny birds that just keep coming in here and eating everything. Back here in this corner we lost a couple of our blackberry plants. We're hoping that they'll shoot up new roots. But over here they're doing great. So I'm not sure what happened there. We have lizards climbing all over the walls, which is good. They also eat bugs. But we got plenty of squash bugs to go around, so hopefully they're eating all of those. Let me get out of here. This little apple tree is doing okay. Everything is just trying to make it through right now. Our salvia here is trying to make it. We did lose all of the other flowers that we had in there, except for this one, and I'm not sure what this is. But it's a pretty little flower. And then we still have our herbs trying to hang on here. And I just saw another lizard go through here. The cherry tree, this is the Barbados cherry. It's doing fine. It's just not putting on any flowers right now. It's just too hot. We have a ton of kumquats on this tree. Hopefully they come to fruition. The bees are not even out right now because it is too hot. They go hiding during the day when it's this hot out. So everything is just kind of trying to survive. I had shade cloth over these. I took it down the other night when it was raining and we hardly got anything. And I didn't put it back up. And now look at this. Now we have somebody in here because you can see the greens on the ground is coming and biting off branches. I'm guessing that they're trying to make a nest in here. So until we do something with these rocks, which were meant for a pond, we're going to have a problem because these little varmints like hiding in rocks. The D'Angelo took a hit when we had that really big dust storm. We lost several branches because this umbrella tipped over and went straight into the D'Angelo, breaking off several branches, and now it's a little bit heavier on one side than the other. The yellow bell is doing good. We're just going to leave her alone for now. Pomegranate is going crazy, and we got wonderful, wonderful pomegranates on there. Hopefully the animals and insects stay away from it. The fig tree is doing well. We still have one little fig right there on that one. And what else do we have going on over here? We still have our other peppers trying to survive. The grapes are done, and before I went on my trip, I was going to process the rest of those grapes, and I didn't get to it. And when I got home, I had the 5 containers of my grapes got mold on them because the humidity went up, and the humidity went up in the fridge, and all of my grapes got moldy. So I lost those. That was very disappointing. But you live and you learn. Next time I won't wait. Just get my stuff done. That's easier said than done sometimes. Hello, girls. Hello. Right now we're still trying to keep the girls cool. And right now there's not a whole lot of bees out, but you can see that they're still present. We got extra water dishes in there for them to drink out of and to put their feet in. They always kick sand in there, so it always looks disgusting, but it gets changed every day. And then the vincas, they love the summer, so they do well. This is a raspberry bush that took a hit. I don't know that it'll come back. Our 2 blueberry bushes that were in here, I don't think they're going to come back. The girls weren't even laying hardly any eggs there for a while when it gets so hot. Our gardenia's doing okay. This is a gardenia tree, so it's looking pretty good. And this one right here is the Dapple Dandy peach tree. It's doing pretty good. And the other one is the Flavor Queen Pluot right here. So they're hanging tight. We got them kind of under the shade. The pear trees are doing good. One is the Asian, and then let's see if this one has the name on it. Yeah, this is the Southern Bartlett, and this is the Asian. We had one pear on there, and the birds got to it before we did, so we didn't get to really taste it. So, those are the things that we have going on in the garden right now. Okay, and besides the okra being one of my top priorities today, the other one is uppotting my squash plants. It is still way too hot to put them outside. I was going to actually start hardening them off last week because we started dipping down into the high 90s, and I thought, oh, we're finally coming out of it. But like Tuesday, we're supposed to be back up to 110. So I think I'm going to wait another couple of weeks before I start hardening off my squash plants. And I am going to try these in containers, and I'm going to try them way over on the other side of the house. That side gets a lot more sun than that side, but I do have that squash bug problem over there. So you never want to plant things like squash and cucumbers and even some of your tomatoes and stuff. You don't want to plant them in the same place every year. You want to rotate, or every season you want to rotate how you're planting your stuff. So this one's up potted, this one isn't. I got some roots coming out of this one. He needs to be up potted. I have like 8 or 10 of these that I need to up pot, so I'm going to work on that this afternoon. And we're going to start on the basics series for your gardening. The first thing that you want to do is observation. If you're just a beginning gardener and you're starting to garden, the first thing that you want to do is observe your space. I didn't take enough time to do that, and I don't think it would have made much difference for me, but it does make a difference, because you want to see where you're getting your morning sun, your afternoon sun, your shade. You want to put a plan into action of what you're wanting. Do you want trees? Do you want shrubs? Do you want gardens? All of that is also going to depend on your shade. So if you are in a place where you would want to maybe put a tree in an area where if you're getting a lot of sun like we do, so it gives afternoon shade to some of those plants that can't handle all of that heat. Any plant in Arizona is going to do well with a little bit of afternoon shade. On this side of my yard, I don't get the afternoon shade. And on this side, those laurels that I showed you, those help, and the apple tree are going to help shade that raised bed area. I'm hoping that it doesn't shade it so much that I can't grow anything in there, but I'm hoping that the trees shade all the plants. I know it seems like a crazy amount of stuff in our backyard, and it is. We did go kind of crazy, but it's fun. But we do plan on keeping everything trimmed up because we can't let it get some 30 feet tall and look like a jungle around here, because otherwise we won't get any sun back here and we won't be able to grow anything. So we will keep everything trimmed up and at a height that we can manage also, except for maybe a couple of these peach trees. We may let those get higher because they are going to give us some shade in our windows upstairs, and this sun here even bakes the windows. I can't tell you how many windows I have seen that have been destroyed by this Arizona sun, especially the framework around your windows. The sun just bakes everything. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to observe your yard. You want to put a plan into action. See where your sun rises, see where your sun sets, see where you're getting most of your shade, see where you're getting most of your sun. Plants can't grow without any sunlight at all. There's very few plants that can deal with no sunlight. And also think about if you will be able to put up structures to be able to help those plants. If you do put them in a certain area, or are they going to be out in the wide open? And if they are, you want to make sure that you're planting things that are good with that season. So the first thing in our basics is to observe where you're going to be planting, put a plan into action, kind of graph it out, get some paper and just kind of do a rough drawing of where you want what. And are you going to be doing in-ground beds, or are you going to be doing raised beds or containers or a mix of all? Here it's hard for us to be able to do any kind of growing in the ground itself. When we lived in Queen Creek several years ago, we did do an in-ground bed. We had to amend it heavily. We had to till. We had to do a lot of that. If you want a no-till garden, you probably wouldn't be able to do in-ground here, because it would need to be amended heavily, because there's so much clay. And I'm sure a lot of you also deal with that clay. And that is why I decided to do a lot of raised beds, because then I can control what goes in my soil and how deep my roots will be able to go. Now, a good example of that was when I did these trellises. I only went 6 inches that first season, because that's all we could do that year. And I planted some things that had longer roots than 6 inches. So my roots were actually trying to go in the opposite direction. They were growing out of the soil instead of underground, because they couldn't penetrate that soil. It's just too hard for those roots. So then we put we built it up this last season, and now you can see it's just been going crazy. I was concerned at first, because we put in one of those videos I showed you where we did the throwing all the twigs and everything like that in there to try to save some money on soil. Found out afterwards, after doing more research, that kind of stuff really does need time to break down, and the reason you want it to break down is because it will steal the nitrogen away from your plants. Now, I did have a lot of compost in there, so I think it's kind of balancing itself out. Obviously, everything's doing well in there. I mean, it's green and lush and beautiful in there. But that was another thing where, do your research before. Okay, besides doing your research, you also want to observe at different times of year where your sun is going, because it is going to change. Like right now, I am on this side where during the summer, it is this whole area here on this table is usually just beating down with sun. But now, as we're starting to come into fall and the end of August, I'm not getting as much sun over in this area. So right now, this would actually be a good area for me to put those squash plants. And at the end of the table, where I'm still getting hit with that sun in the afternoon, those I will want to cover with some shade cloth until the temperatures start coming down and they're out of that baby phase and they start producing flowers. I can keep them covered, and that will also keep the bugs off of them. So different times of year, observe where your sun is in your backyard. So right now, the only shade I'm getting is in my side yard right here, which is more of a storage area for all of my planters and stuff. And everything else, except for under the shade cloth, you can tell is getting hit by the sun, except this area right here that's by our coop. And the sun starts right there. So that's why we have those trees pulled over there right now, so that they get some of that afternoon shade. The pears seem to be doing okay. They've acclimated to it. And then when you look over here, this area right here is getting coverage from the sun up until there. Then it starts getting hit by the sun also. But both sides of the house and the very back, front of the house in the backyard is all that I get for shade right now. This house really gets hit with that sun, which is why we knew that we were going to have to put things into place for shade, which we are still working on little by little here, getting shade cloth up. where it needs to be. Okay, how about we do some up potting. So you can see right here when I first brought these out, these were so lively. And look, just from being out here from the house that's like 75, 76 degrees, out here into these temperatures for just like 15 minutes, they're already, oh my gosh, please let me in. They're already freaking out. So we're going to go do some up potting really quick because these plants can't handle being outside very long right now. All right, we got all of those squash plants up potted. I think I ended up like with 16, and now we're going to deal with this okra. So I'm going to take these and chop them off and store them in the refrigerator for a few days. But I want to show you the different stages. You hear that? This one's going to be one that I can save seeds in because it's very dried out. This one here is too long. It's going to be woody. This one is perfect. This is the size that you want them at in order to be able to get some decent tasting okra. And these smaller ones, these work very well also. So we're going to get these all pulled, and I'm excited that I actually have some to save even. I think I might leave that one on there just to have a few more to save for seeds. And we're going to keep working on these. And I just want to thank you so much for spending time with us today, walking around the garden and seeing what needs to be done and different chores that we have to take care of, and observing the different times of day with the sun for your first tip for your gardening series. And I also want to thank you. I feel very blessed that you are coming along with us and subscribing and helping us out in our gardens. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you on the next video.